Welcome to True Crime Nest. Today we dive into the horrifying case of Maggie Caldwell, a rich woman that earned her fortune with luxury real estate. This case will shake you to your core. Our story starts with Maggie Caldwell, a striking woman at 54, made her fortune in luxury real estate. Her name was linked with success, and her portfolio held some of the most exclusive properties in the country. But Maggie's journey was far from ordinary. She moved through the tricky world of wealth and power with strong determination and a sharp mind, never hesitating to grab what she wanted, whether in business or life. Then there was Ethan Riley, a 26-year-old with rugged charm, whose life had taken an unexpected turn. A former college athlete sidelined by injury, Ethan drifted through various unremarkable jobs, with his dreams of success slipping away, until fate brought him into Maggie's world. Their relationship, unusual and intense, seemed to fill a gap in both their lives. Maggie found youth and energy in Ethan, while Ethan was attracted to the lavish lifestyle that Maggie's world offered. For nearly a year, their secret affair took place against the backdrop of Maggie's luxurious life. But under it all, something bad was brewing. The thrill that once drove their romance turned into a dangerous obsession, and time was running out towards a night filled with blood. What started as an exciting escape soon turned into something much more dangerous, setting off a series of events neither could control, with devastating consequences on the way. Maggie's rise to becoming a real estate mogul began with a sharp eye for opportunity and strong determination. She turned neglected properties into highly desired estates, each success adding to her reputation and wealth. But beneath her polished surface was a woman with deeper, more hidden desires. Her marriage to Michael Caldwell, a CIA operative, often away on assignments, was more of a strategic partnership than a romantic one. This left Maggie free to explore her own needs, away from society's watchful eyes. Ethan entered Maggie's life when she was seeking excitement beyond the business world. What began as a casual fling quickly grew deeper, intertwining their lives in ways neither expected. As their affair continued, secrets and lies started to unravel, pushing them toward a tragic ending that would leave their lives and reputations irreparably damaged. Maggie Caldwell's climb to the top was marked by relentless ambition, sharp intelligence, and an uncanny ability to navigate the tricky world of real estate. The storm outside was just the beginning, a hint of the chaos about to consume Maggie Caldwell's life. Beneath her flawless exterior lay secrets that could destroy everything she had built. As the storm raged, so did the forces plotting her downfall. Born in a modest Chicago neighborhood, she was the only child of a dedicated school teacher and a hard-working construction worker. Even as a child, Maggie showed a natural talent for persuasion and charm, qualities that would later become her greatest strengths in the competitive world of luxury real estate. Her journey truly began when she earned a scholarship to study architecture at a prestigious university. Maggie quickly stood out, not just for her academic skills, but for her unyielding determination. It wasn't long before an influential professor with deep connections in the real estate industry noticed her. Under his guidance, Maggie sharpened her design skills and developed a strategic mind, setting the stage for her future empire. Upon graduating, Maggie joined a leading real estate firm where her rise was meteoric. Her colleagues watched in awe, and often in envy, as she closed deals others deemed impossible. By her 40s, Maggie had founded Caldwell Estates, a real estate empire synonymous with opulence and innovation, catering exclusively to the world's wealthiest. But while Maggie's professional life soared, the shadows of her personal life grew darker. Each success in the boardroom masked a deeper, more dangerous unraveling at home. The cracks in her perfect world were beginning to show, and Ethan's arrival would only widen them. Her marriage to Michael Caldwell, a high-ranking CIA operative, was a strategic alliance rather than a romantic union. With Michael frequently away on covert missions, Maggie was left to her own devices, indulging in a world of luxury and desire. Theirs was a marriage in name only, a partnership of convenience, where each pursued their own interests independently. Among the many men who crossed Maggie's path, Ethan Riley was different. At 26, Ethan was not just another fleeting distraction. He became an integral part of Maggie's carefully curated life. She moved him into the guest house on her sprawling estate, showering him with luxury and molding him into the ideal companion. Ethan, with his rugged looks and easy charm, seemed the perfect fit for Maggie's world of designer clothes, gourmet dinners, and exclusive events. But Ethan had a past, one darker and more twisted than Maggie could have imagined. Before he met her, Ethan had drifted through life, leaving a trail of broken promises and suspicious circumstances. One particularly haunting incident involved a girlfriend he had while living in a small town. He had told everyone about her, painting a picture of a perfect relationship, but she suddenly disappeared without a trace. Days turned into weeks, and the town buzzed with rumors, but no one knew what had happened to her until her body was found in a bizarre position near Ethan's house. The police never had enough evidence to charge him, but whispers of his involvement followed him wherever he went. It was a stormy night when Sarah's body was discovered, partially submerged in the shallow, murky waters behind Ethan's house. Her lifeless form, draped in the white dress she had worn the last time anyone saw her, seemed almost out of place in the desolate, rain-soaked landscape. The cause of death was ambiguous. No clear signs of struggle, no conclusive evidence of foul play. But there was something undeniably eerie about the way she was found. The townspeople whispered of a tragic accident, but there were those who believed Ethan knew more than he let on. The local police, unable to make a case, closed the investigation, but the suspicion clung to Ethan like a shadow. He fled the town soon after, but the memory of that night followed him, a ghostly reminder of the secrets he kept buried deep within. From the start, Ethan Riley brought shadows of a secret past into Maggie's life, shadows that would soon cover them both. But control is a dangerous illusion, and Maggie was about to lose her grip. Their entangled pasts were on a collision course with disaster. Yet, the more Maggie tried to mold Ethan to her desires, the more his dark past loomed over their relationship, casting a shadow that threatened to unravel everything she had built. Ethan's presence in Maggie's life became more than just a thrill. It was a dangerous game of power and manipulation. As she tried to control him, she found herself increasingly entangled in his web of lies and secrets. But Maggie was no stranger to danger. After all, she had built an empire on her ability to outmaneuver anyone who stood in her way. However, this time, the stakes were higher and the consequences more deadly. For nearly a year, Maggie and Ethan's relationship thrived in the shadows. Maggie took pride in showing Ethan off at social events, where his youthful charm and good looks garnered admiring glances. She relished the envious stares from women her age, who could only dream of having a companion like Ethan. In return, Ethan enjoyed the financial security and taste of a life he had never known. But as their relationship deepened, the dynamics began to shift. Maggie's attraction to other young men was something Ethan had never anticipated. Despite his initial acceptance of their arrangement, he found himself growing increasingly uncomfortable with the idea of Maggie being with other men. The turning point came when Maggie began an affair with Justin McAllister, a 28-year-old tennis instructor who frequented the same exclusive club where Maggie spent her afternoons. Justin was everything Ethan was not: shy, reserved, and completely unaware of Maggie's double life. He saw her only as a wealthy client who flirted with him on occasion, never suspecting that she was a woman with a dark side. For Maggie, Justin was just another conquest, a brief indulgence in her insatiable appetite for younger men. But for Ethan, it was a betrayal. Although their arrangement had always been transactional, Ethan found himself growing possessive. He had developed real feelings for Maggie, and the thought of her with another man drove him to the edge. He began to question the nature of their relationship, wondering if he was just another toy in her collection. The more he thought about it, the more his jealousy and obsession grew. Maggie, ever the master manipulator, initially found Ethan's possessiveness flattering. She enjoyed the attention and the sense of power it gave her, knowing that she could drive him to the brink with just a few words or a glance. But as Ethan's behavior became more erratic, Maggie began to realize that she had created a monster. Ethan started following Maggie, checking her phone and questioning her about her whereabouts. His jealousy became all-consuming, and Maggie, unaccustomed to being challenged, found herself losing control of the situation. For the first time, Maggie felt real fear as she lost control. What began as a game had turned into a deadly trap, and she was now the target. The storm outside was nothing next to the storm inside Maggie's house. That night, as the wind screamed, Ethan's jealousy exploded, starting a deadly spiral that would destroy them both. The evening had begun like many others, with a lavish dinner and fine wine. But as the night wore on, Ethan's demeanor changed. He became increasingly agitated, his questions about her other lovers more pointed and aggressive. Maggie, her patience worn thin, responded with cold indifference, dismissing Ethan's concerns as baseless jealousy. She had never intended for their relationship to become so complicated, and she was growing tired of Ethan's constant need for reassurance. In her mind, their arrangement was clear. She provided for him, and in return, he gave her the companionship she craved. But Ethan was no longer satisfied with that. He wanted more attention, more affection, more of her time. As the argument escalated, Ethan accused Maggie of betraying him. His voice trembled with emotion as he confronted her in her private study, a soundproof room where she often retreated to escape the world. Maggie, her icy composure finally breaking, laughed at his accusations, belittling him for thinking he could ever be more than just another plaything in her life. The insult was the final straw. In a blind fury, Ethan grabbed the shotgun that Maggie kept for protection, pointing it at her. For a brief moment, Maggie's icy composure faltered as she realized the danger she was in. But before she could react, Ethan pulled the trigger. The blast echoed through the room, but thanks to the soundproofing, no one outside heard a thing. Maggie Caldwell, the powerful and enigmatic businesswoman, was dead. Ethan stood over Maggie's lifeless body, the reality of what he had done slowly sinking in. Panic set in as he realized the enormity of his actions, but years of navigating the dark side of life had taught him how to cover his tracks. He meticulously cleaned the scene, wiping away any trace of his presence, and carefully staged the room to make it appear as though Maggie had taken her own life. He placed the shotgun beside her body, arranging her hands around it to make it look like she had shot herself. He then wiped down every surface he had touched, ensuring that no fingerprints or DNA evidence could link him to the crime. Finally, he checked the room one last time, making sure that everything was in order, before slipping out of the estate under the cover of darkness. By the time the authorities arrived the next morning, Ethan was long gone, blending back into the world as though nothing had happened. Maggie's death was initially ruled a suicide, but as investigators dug deeper, inconsistencies began to emerge. Michael Caldwell, upon returning from his latest mission, was devastated by the news of his wife's death. Although their marriage had been far from perfect, he never expected it to end in such a tragic way. As the investigation unfolded, however, Michael began to suspect that Maggie's death was not as straightforward as it seemed. The more he learned about his wife's secret life, the more questions he had. Michael had always known that Maggie was a complex woman with a dark side, but he had never imagined that she was involved in such dangerous affairs. As the investigation continued, Michael became increasingly determined to uncover the truth, even as the case grew more convoluted. The case quickly became a media sensation, with speculation about Maggie's secret life dominating the headlines. The more investigators uncovered about her affairs with younger men, the more it seemed that one of them could have had a motive to kill her. Yet, despite their efforts, the police were unable to find conclusive evidence linking anyone to the crime. Ethan, who had carefully erased all traces of his involvement, watched from a distance as the investigation unfolded. His past experiences had taught him how to navigate the shadows, and he used these skills to evade suspicion. He stayed out of sight, avoiding any places where he might be recognized, and kept a low profile, changing his appearance and avoiding contact with anyone who might connect him to Maggie. As the months passed, the case grew cold, and the public's interest waned. The media moved on to the next big story, and Maggie Caldwell's death faded into obscurity. Just another unsolved case in a world full of them. The authorities, despite their best efforts, were unable to find any solid leads, and the case was eventually closed, leaving Michael Caldwell with more questions than answers. Michael, haunted by the loss of his wife and the unanswered questions surrounding her death, eventually resigned himself to the fact that he might never know the truth. The case was officially classified as unsolved, a mystery that would linger in the minds of those who knew Maggie Caldwell. Ethan emerged unscathed, free to continue his life as though nothing had happened. He moved to a new city, adopting a new identity, and starting over once again. The experience had changed him, hardening him, and teaching him the true cost of his ambitions. He found work as a fitness trainer at a high-end gym, using his background to attract a new clientele. He kept to himself, avoiding any close relationships and ensuring that his past remained a secret. He had learned to navigate the treacherous waters of his own dark impulses, emerging on the other side more cunning and elusive than ever. While the world moved on, the memory of Maggie Caldwell remained etched in his mind, a reminder of the danger that comes with playing with power and desire. Yet for Ethan, there were no regrets. He had learned the most important lesson of all. Never let anyone see the real you until it's too late. As he walked the streets of his new life, a smile played on his lips. The world, he realized, was full of possibilities, and he was free to explore them all. For Ethan Riley, the story was far from over. Only now, he was the one writing the script. The news of Maggie Caldwell's death faded into obscurity, just another unsolved case in a world full of them. Yet for those who had known her, the mystery remained, a puzzle with too many missing pieces. And somewhere, in the shadows of another city, Ethan Riley watched and waited, always ready to seize the next opportunity that came his way. For in a world driven by desire and power, he had learned the most important lesson of all. Never let anyone see the real you until it's too late. How could Ethan have averted the deadly spiral that ultimately consumed Maggie's life? Was Maggie's insatiable desire for control and her string of affairs a trigger for the violence that ensued, or simply a reflection of the darker undercurrents in her world? Thank you for joining us in unraveling this chilling tale of obsession, power, and tragedy.